So Japanese future, currently we have more elderly people, and also we have lots of problems because of population getting decreasing. But still, next decade or 2 decades, we're going to have a more better world, or better life, or better standard of life. Or how do you think? But GDP just per person very stable past 10 years. But how do you think about this in future? How is it getting better?
Currently, Japanese society has the excess supply of fund or money. Currently, the rate of interest rate is very low, which means that the cost of money is very low.
Right.
So if you find out better target for investment,
right,
like renewable energy or energy efficiency or better community infrastructure, if you're investing in low carbon infrastructure for the future, and then that will produce a better product, and that can be exported to other countries. So that it depends on how, as I said, there is a huge amount of promising or promised market for the decarbonized, non-carbon society. So
I see. So it means currently Japanese per person GDP per capita is $37,000 is no change per 10 years. But still, next 10 years might be the same level compared with Singapore or Hong Kong. They're growing, but we are not. But still, we don't worry about this.
I have no answer to that. It depends on how people work. Of course, there is a clear indication that the working population of Japan will decrease. So that we have to think about how to compensate for that part. Of course, there are different approaches like, working longer. After 60 years or 65 years, there are many people who can still work. And also, gender equality.
Yes,
there are many talented, educated female people, so that they have a better opportunity to work. To provide their knowledge and their talents. And also, there are many foreign. For example, I work for the university, and there are many good students who are from abroad. And if they stay in Japan and they accommodate to the Japanese society, they will be a very good, contributor to the Japanese society. So that, of course, these systems have to change. Immigration system has to be modified. Of course, there are pros and cons about the liberalization of immigration.
Oh, by the way, you have involved in a lot of foreigners and global activity. You have spent many years. By the way, Japanese is basically Japanese have difficulty to communicate with overseas people. Not only language but also cultural differences, and also Japanese are not familiar with debate. How do you think about this? Do you have any problem to talk with them?
Of course, various difficulties arise when we communicate with other foreign people. But my understanding is that we have a very good Japanese society, and we welcome foreigners. But foreigners have to, comply with the Japanese society. Live in harmony with Japanese society. They have to accept some of the Japanese rules and traditions and culture. So, for example, we have to communicate better with the foreign people by, for example, for the tourists. We have to provide basic principles when we visit tourist spots. Pay attention to not to throw away garbage, respect the nature, conserve the nature, Of course, there are. We can ask them to behave in a better way.
Yes, you are involved in global society, and you are very familiar with reading English material and so forth. And my question is, like for example, Japanese newspapers or Japanese TVs is very. They are talking about a very small world rather than overseas people. So the discussion or debating issues is different. But also, Japanese are not accustomed to debate with people. They just listen and they don't think about the information about this. So it means even American people, they are not speak out what they're thinking. How do you think?
Japanese, I am a Japanese and I love Japan and I evaluate the various virtues of Japanese society. And we have to, of course, to disseminate what we think and what our values are. I think that is very important. But of course, at the same time, the people in other countries have their own values and their own culture and their history. So we have to be open to communicate openly.
Many Japanese cannot open their mind, right? Is it? Can they?
I don't think so. I mean, Japan is a very open, society in terms of information and knowledge. But, of course, as you said, Japanese media is somewhat focused on domestic issues and also from abroad. Most of them come from United States. Not even very little information from European countries like Germany or France or Scandinavian countries. They are doing pretty much very good things, but sometimes their information are not clearly introduced to Japan.
But people are not like that. People speak at more open mind. How do you think? People are more open mind?
I think currently there are many foreigners coming to Japan, and they actually meet the local people in Japan. I think they are getting to know what the Japanese people are, the real Japanese people are.
Like I organize training for Japanese people. For Japanese people, take them to China, take them to Asia, give them discussion involving with local people. But they are basically they want to spend by Japanese at night. They don't want to go into with people for drinking. They want to speak out in Japanese at night. Right?
Japanese people.
Yes.
Maybe.
So this is, I think, my family is Chinese or Korean, so I don't have kind of custom, just only at night talking about in Japanese. But usually Japanese people, they like to eat Japanese food and they like to talk with Japanese language, especially at night. I think this is a lot of obstacle for foreigners to communicate with those people. Okay. By the way, I'd like to move into the nuclear power plant.
Nuclear power plants.
And currently, China under construction are planning to prepare 100 nuclear power plant, and they call the future maybe called problem. But Japan is also 2011 we have big accident, and at that time we stopped every nuclear power plant. Now still is active. A few power plant is active. But how do you think about this kind of issue? Do you agree with that, or nuclear power plant, or you against it?
I am actually not in favor of nuclear plants.
So it means in future we should abolish every kind of nuclear power plant in Japan?
I think Japan should gradually phase out nuclear power plants.
But the other question is...
actually, currently, there are very few power plants operating right now. And there is no need to reoperate the existing power plants.
I see. By the way, I think my audience is currently China is with under construction, we're going to make a power plant in total next 10 years, 100. It might be one or two of those will boost, and this very bad impact for Japan, our Japanese climate. And so this is we can do anything at all, right, for the kind of issues. So this is a big problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And any other? Do you think kind of power plant issue do you have?
I think there are various reasons to the needs of phasing out nuclear power plants. One is that the cost of power plant is not really cheaper than the rest of the power generation. There are hidden costs for
construction costs or operation costs?
Construction, operation, and also disposing of nuclear power waste, and the costs are associated with the accidents.
I see.
And also, there are no technology or no site to disposal of waste, nuclear power waste.
Okay, let's take a list. Okay.
なかった。
はい、皆さんこんにちは、Unnoです。今日はですね